Senator Ronald Bato Dela Rosa is now a fugitive as the Philippine DOJ orders the PNP and NBI to arrest him following a valid ICC warrant. This unprecedented move sparks nationwide manhunt, political tension, and international attention, highlighting the clash between domestic law, global justice, and accountability. In a dramatic turn of events that has gripped the Philippines, the Department of Justice, DOJ, has formally ordered the country's primary law enforcement agencies, the Philippine National Police, PNP, and the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, to arrest Senator Ronald Bato Dela Rosa. This directive follows the confirmation of a valid International Criminal Court (ICC) arrest warrant against him for alleged crimes against humanity during the country's controversial anti-narcotics campaign. The ICC, based in The Hague, issued the warrant in late 2025 under seal. It was unsealed and publicly acknowledged in May 2026. The charges target Dela Rosa for his alleged involvement in extrajudicial killings linked to the nationwide drug war that unfolded during the administration of former President Rodrigo Duterte. Despite the Philippines' withdrawal from the Rome Statute in 2019, the ICC retains jurisdiction over crimes allegedly committed while the country was still a party. This legal nuance forms the cornerstone of the warrant's enforceability. For months, Senator Dela Rosa sought to block the enforcement of this warrant through domestic courts. His legal team filed petitions in the Supreme Court of the Philippines requesting a temporary restraining order to prevent any possible arrest or extradition to the ICC. However, on May 20th, 2026, the Supreme Court denied the TRO, removing the key legal barrier that had delayed enforcement. This ruling effectively authorized Philippine authorities to execute the warrant should Dela Rosa be located. On May 22, Justice Secretary Frederick Vita publicly confirmed the DOJ's decision to act on the ICC directive. Senator Bato is a fugitive from justice and he should be brought to the ICC to face the charges before him, Vita declared. I would like to confirm the Philippine law enforcement agencies, which would include the PNP, the National Bureau of Investigation, are now tasked to effect the arrest of Sen. Bato Dela Rosa. Vita underscored that the warrant was legally valid, enforceable, and with the Supreme Court's denial of the TRO ready for execution, law enforcement agencies quickly mobilized in response. NBI Director Melvin Matibag stated, the order is to arrest Senator Dela Rosa, so we'll do so without delay. In carrying out the arrest, we will strictly abide by the rules and ensure it is done professionally. As we always do, Matibag also acknowledged the operational challenge of pursuing a former police chief with extensive knowledge of law enforcement tactics, but expressed confidence that the agency would succeed in apprehending him. At the same time, the PNP, under Chief Police General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr., dispatched tracker teams across the archipelago to locate Dela Rosa. The police emphasized that ports of exit and airports were under heightened monitoring to prevent any attempt at flight. Chief Nartate emphasized operational discipline, respect for human rights, and strive CT adherence to legal procedures throughout the operation, ensuring that the arrest would be conducted professionally and constitutionally. The enforcement of the ICC warrant comes after a chaotic sequence of events inside the Senate in early May 2026. Dela Rosa briefly appeared at the chamber to participate in a crucial leadership vote, which coincided with the first attempts by authorities to serve the warrant. Reports described a tense and chaotic scene, including a confrontation with the legislative body's sergeant-at-arms and gunfire in the vicinity, before he was temporarily placed under the Senate's protective custody. This episode highlighted the extraordinary circumstances surrounding a sitting senator who is simultaneously a subject of an international criminal investigation. Following that Senate incident, Dela Rosa reportedly left the Senate premises in the early hours of May 14 under circumstances that remain controversial. Since then, he has not appeared publicly, promptly. An active nationwide search by law enforcement agencies. While some critics allege that political allies may have facilitated his movement, Dela Rosa's supporters argue that he is exercising his legal rights as a sitting senator entitled to due process. The political ramifications of the DOJ's directive are complex. In the Senate, allies of Dela Rosa have defended him, questioning the legitimacy of enforcing an international warrant without additional domestic court review. Minority senators, however, have emphasized the need to uphold the rule of law, urging voluntary surrender and compliance with legal obligations. One lawmaker stated, the rule of law should always prevail. The affair has underscored broader factional divisions, particularly between supporters of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and allies of Vice President Sara Duterte, whose political loyalty includes strong ties to Dela Rosa. These dynamics add layers of complexity to the enforcement operation and the broader political narrative. Internationally, the Philippines' enforcement of the ICC warrant is closely watched. The case illustrates the reach of global justice mechanisms, even in countries that have formally withdrawn from the ICC's treaty framework. For human rights advocates, the action represents a long-awaited step toward accountability for alleged abuses during the anti-drug campaign. Conversely, some political commentators and allies of Dela Rosa perceive the enforcement as an intersection of law and political maneuvering, reflecting domestic power struggles. From a legal perspective, the ICC warrant, the Supreme Court's denial of the TRO, and the DOJ's directive form a cohesive chain of enforcement. The warrant alleges that Dela Rosa, in his official capacity, contributed to a broader pattern of systematic human rights violations. Enforcement within the Philippines is now legally possible, and law enforcement agencies are acting under explicit instructions from the DOJ. As of late May 2026, authorities continue their efforts to locate Dela Rosa. Intelligence and enforcement units remain deployed nationwide, focusing on metropolitan centers, provincial regions, and points of exit to prevent the senator from leaving the country. Law enforcement officials have reiterated that any attempt by Dela Rosa to evade arrest would be met with legal consequences. The case carries broader implications for the Philippines' domestic and international posture. It underscores the importance of accountability, the authority of international justice bodies, and the interplay between domestic law and treaty obligations. The enforcement of the warrant also sends a message regarding the rule of law in the Philippines, illustrating that even high-profile political figures are subject to legal processes. Looking ahead, the outcome of the search for Senator Dela Rosa will likely influence the political landscape, international perceptions of the Philippines, and ongoing discussions on human rights and accountability. While the legal process unfolds, law enforcement continues to pursue him actively, and the nation watches closely. The DOJ, NBI, and PNP have all affirmed that enforcement will proceed without delay following constitutional safeguards and professional protocols. In summary, the situation represents a convergence of legal, political, and international factors. The ICC warrant provides the legal foundation. The Supreme Court ruling removes domestic obstacles, and the DOJ's directive sets law enforcement into motion. The Senate incident and political alliances add complexity, while the nationwide search ensures that authorities are prepared for all eventualities. For now, Senator Ronald Bato Dela Rosa remains at large, and Philippine authorities are committed to executing the arrest order upholding both domestic and international legal obligations. The coming days and weeks are expected to be critical. Observers within the country and around the world are watching how Philippine authorities balance the enforcement of international legal mandates with constitutional protections for a sitting senator, and how political dynamics may influence the unfolding events. As the search continues, the nation is confronted with questions of accountability, governance, and the reach of international justice. The arrest of a sitting senator under an ICC warrant is unprecedented in recent Philippine history, and the legal, political, and social reverberations of this case will likely be felt for years to come.